I never thought a simple storage unit could change my life forever. But here I am, sitting in my car at 3 a.m., staring at unit number 247, trying to convince myself that what I saw inside was just a trick of the light. My hands are shaking as I write this, partly from the cold, partly from fear. I need to document everything before I forget the details, or before they find me. The human mind is strange. We remember the most mundane details about the moments before our lives change forever. I remember it was a Tuesday morning, and I was drinking coffee from my chipped Star Wars mug, the one Sarah always threatened to throw away. The morning sun streamed through our kitchen window, highlighting the dust motes dancing in the air and the growing collection of boxes that had slowly invaded our living space over the years. Sarah stood at the counter, her dark hair pulled back in a messy bun, scrolling through her phone with one hand while absently stirring her tea with the other. "Mike," she said, not looking up, "we need to talk about the garage." I knew this conversation was coming. Our two-car garage hadn't seen a car in over 3 years. Instead, it had become a graveyard for our accumulated possessions. Holiday decorations, old furniture, boxes of books, and Sarah's ever-growing collection of vintage kitchenware. Her bread box collection alone took up an entire wall. "I was thinking," she continued, finally looking up at me with those honey-brown eyes that had made me fall in love with her 8 years ago. "Maybe we should look into storage units. Jenny and Tom rent one, and they say it's really affordable." Jenny and Tom. Of course they'd be the ones to suggest it. Sarah's sister and her husband were always full of helpful suggestions. They had the perfect house, the perfect jobs, the perfect life, and now apparently the perfect storage solution. "I don't know, babe," I said, taking another sip of coffee. "Storage units always seemed kind of sketchy to me. Haven't you seen those true crime shows where they find—" "Oh, stop it," Sarah interrupted, rolling her eyes. "This isn't some sketchy place. It's brand new, secure space storage. It's right off Thompson Road, by that new Whole Foods. Jenny says they have climate control and 24-hour security." I looked around our cluttered kitchen. The latest casualty of our space crisis was a tower of moving boxes filled with Sarah's mom's china. She'd passed away last year, and neither of us had the heart to get rid of anything yet. The boxes had been migrating around the house for months, like nomadic tribes searching for a permanent home. "Fine," I sighed. "We can at least look at it." Sarah's face lit up. "Really? I already scheduled a tour for this afternoon." Of course she had. That was Sarah. Always 3 steps ahead of me. It was one of the things I loved about her, even when it drove me crazy. The storage facility was exactly as Sarah had described. New, clean, and professional looking. The building was a massive concrete structure with rows of gleaming roll-up doors, all painted an identical shade of navy blue. The parking lot was freshly paved, and there were security cameras mounted at regular intervals along the exterior walls. It looked more like a high-end office building than a storage facility. Monica, the facility manager, met us in the lobby. She was tall and thin, with red hair pulled back in such a tight bun that it looked painful. Her blue uniform was pristinely pressed, and her name tag gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Everything about her seemed precise, measured, as if she'd been assembled rather than born. "Welcome to Secure Space Storage," she said, her smile practiced but warm. "You must be Mike and Sarah Thompson. Jenny called ahead to let me know you'd be coming." Of course she did, I thought, but didn't say. Monica led us through the facility, her low heels clicking against the polished concrete floors. The corridors were wide and well lit, with that new building smell of fresh paint and clean carpet. Each hallway was identical to the last, the same blue doors, the same white walls, the same recessed LED lighting. "We take security very seriously here," Monica explained as we walked. "Each unit has individual door alarms. The entire facility is monitored 24/7, and our climate control systems maintain consistent temperature and humidity levels to protect your belongings." She gestured to the security cameras mounted at each intersection. "We also have automated systems that detect any unusual activity, excessive visits during off hours, unauthorized access attempts, that sort of thing." Sarah squeezed my hand excitedly. I had to admit, the place was impressive. It was nothing like the dingy storage facilities I'd seen on TV. "Now," Monica said, stopping in front of a unit, I think number 247 would be perfect for your needs. It's one of our premium spaces, 10 by 15 feet, with its own light fixture and electrical outlet. She swiped her key card, and the door rolled up smoothly. The unit was spotless, with bright white walls and a sealed concrete floor. The light fixture cast a warm glow that made the space feel almost welcoming. "What do you think?" Sarah whispered, squeezing my hand again. I was about to answer when I noticed something odd. For just a moment, I could have sworn I saw Monica's reflection in the polished floor. But it was wrong somehow, distorted. Her uniform looked different, older, and her smile seemed to stretch too wide for her face. When I blinked, the image was gone. "It's perfect," Sarah was saying, already planning where everything would go. "We can put the holiday decorations along the back wall, and my bread boxes can go." "About those bread boxes," Monica interrupted, her voice taking on an odd tone. "We have quite a few collectors who store their vintage items here. I'm something of a collector myself." That caught Sarah's attention. "Really? What do you collect?" Monica's smile widened slightly. "Oh, all sorts of things. Memories, mostly." There was something about the way she said it that made my skin crawl, but Sarah didn't seem to notice. She was already in organization mode, measuring the space with her eyes and mentally arranging our belongings. We signed the lease that afternoon, $129.99 per month, with the first month free. Monica handed us our key cards and security codes, along with a thick packet of rules and regulations. "One more thing," she said as we were leaving. "The light in your unit, sometimes it has a mind of its own. Don't worry if you find it on when you're sure you turned it off. It's just a quirk of the electrical system." I frowned. "Shouldn't that be fixed?" "Oh, it's nothing to worry about," Monica replied, her smile never wavering. "Just one of those things, you know." I didn't know, but I didn't push it. We had gotten a good deal, and Sarah was happy. That's what mattered, right? The next 2 weeks were a flurry of activity as we began moving things into the unit. Sarah approached it with military precision, cataloging every box and creating a detailed map of where everything should go. I mostly just carried boxes where she told me to. It was during one of these trips that I first noticed something strange. We were stacking boxes of Christmas decorations in the back corner when Sarah sneezed. "Bless you," I said automatically. "What?" Sarah looked confused. I didn't sneeze. I was sure I'd heard a sneeze, but before I could argue, Monica appeared in the doorway. She hadn't made a sound approaching. She was just suddenly there. "How's the move-in going?" she asked, making us both jump. "Great," Sarah replied, recovering quickly. "Though I think we're going to need some shelving units. Do you know if there's a hardware store nearby?" As they discussed storage solutions, I found myself staring at Monica's reflection in the floor again. This time, I was certain something was off. Her uniform looked faded, almost gray instead of blue, and there was something wrong with her eyes. They seemed darker, deeper somehow. "Mike? Earth to Mike?" Sarah's voice snapped me back to reality. "Monica was asking if you needed help with anything." "No, I'm good," I said quickly, just thinking about where to put the rest of the boxes. Monica's smile widened fractionally. "Take your time. Some people find that their belongings arrange themselves naturally." It was an odd thing to say, but Sarah just nodded as if it made perfect sense. I helped her finish organizing for another hour before we headed home. As we left, I could have sworn I heard another sneeze coming from unit number 247, even though we'd locked it up tight. That night, I had the first dream. I was standing in the storage unit, but something was wrong with the dimensions. The walls stretched up into darkness, and the floor seemed to ripple like water. Our boxes were arranged in a perfect circle in the center of the room, and in the middle of the circle was a single bread box, one I'd never seen before. In the dream, I knew I shouldn't open it, but my hands moved of their own accord. Inside was a photograph of Monica, but not the Monica I knew. This one wore a faded gray uniform, and her smile stretched literally from ear to ear. The date stamp in the corner read 5/7/1998. I woke up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding. Sarah stirred beside me but didn't wake up. I lay there in the darkness, trying to convince myself it was just a dream, but something about it felt too real. The next day, I had to go to the unit alone. Sarah had a lunch meeting with a client, and we needed to drop off the last few boxes before her book club came over that evening. It was around noon, but the facility felt different somehow. The fluorescent lights seemed dimmer, and the corridors stretched longer than I remembered. As I approached unit number 247, I noticed the light was on inside. I could see it seeping under the door like fog. I distinctly remembered Sarah turning it off the day before. She was always paranoid about wasting electricity. I unlocked the door with shaking hands, telling myself it was just a quirk of the electrical system, just like Monica had said. The door rolled up with its usual smooth motion, and at first glance, everything looked normal. Then I noticed the boxes. They weren't scattered or knocked over. They had been methodically reorganized. The Christmas decorations, which we'd carefully stacked in the back corner, were now arranged in a perfect circle in the center of the unit. In the middle of the circle was a single bread box, the same one from my dream. My phone rang, making me jump. It was Sarah. "Hey, did you move things around in the unit?" she asked without preamble. "No, I just got here," I replied, staring at the circle of boxes. "Why?" "That's weird. I could have sworn we left the holiday stuff in the back corner." I licked my dry lips. "Sarah, where did you get that pale blue bread box, the one with the faded flowers?" "What blue bread box? I don't have one like that." I was looking right at it, sitting innocently in the center of the circle. "Never mind," I said quickly. I must be thinking of something else. After hanging up, I called the front office, but no one answered. I took several photos with my phone, proof that I wasn't imagining things, and then left, making sure to turn off the light and secure the lock. When I showed Sarah the pictures that evening, she was concerned but rational. "Maybe they had to check for pests or something," she suggested. "We should talk to Monica tomorrow." But Monica wasn't there the next day, or the day after that. The weekend staff claimed she was on vacation, but couldn't tell us when she'd return. They also insisted that no one had accessed our unit. The security logs showed only our entries. That's when the dreams intensified. Every night I found myself back in unit number 247, but it was different each time. Sometimes the walls would breathe, pulsing like a giant heart. Other times, the floor would turn to glass, and I could see other units below us, stretching down into infinity, each one containing the same circle of boxes. And always, there was something waiting in the back corner. Something that wanted me to turn around and look at it. Something that wore a blue uniform and had a smile that was too wide to be human. I started avoiding the storage facility. Sarah made a few trips without me, not understanding why I was suddenly so reluctant to go. "You're being ridiculous," she'd say. "It's just a storage unit." But I noticed she was starting to look tired, with dark circles under her eyes. When I asked if she was sleeping okay, she'd brush it off, saying she was just busy with work. But sometimes, late at night, I'd catch her staring into space, mouthing words I couldn't quite make out. One morning, I found her in the kitchen, surrounded by her bread box collection. She was arranging them in a circle on the floor. "Sarah?" I touched her shoulder gently. She jumped as if waking from a trance. "Oh, I thought they might look better this way." I helped her put them back on the shelves, but she seemed reluctant to break the circle. That afternoon, I drove to Secure Space Storage, determined to confront Monica or whoever was in charge. The facility looked different in the harsh afternoon sun. The blue doors seemed faded, almost gray, and the concrete walls were marked with hairline cracks I hadn't noticed before. The lobby was empty, except for a young security guard who looked barely out of high school. "Monica," he said when I asked about her. "No Monica works here, sir." "What?" "She's the manager. Red hair, blue uniform." He shook his head. "I've been here 6 months. Never met anyone named Monica." I showed him a picture on my phone, one I'd taken that first day, with Sarah and Monica standing in front of unit number 247. But when I looked at the screen, Monica wasn't in the photo. It was just Sarah, smiling at the camera, standing next to an empty space. I ran to unit number 247, my heart pounding. The light was on again, bleeding out from under the door like a wound. My hands shook so badly it took 3 tries to enter the code. The door rolled up, and I stood frozen, staring at what was inside. Every box, every item we'd stored was gone. The unit was completely empty except for a perfect circle of bread boxes in the center of the floor. Sarah's entire collection, which I knew for a fact was still on the shelves at home. In the middle of the circle was that pale blue bread box with the faded flowers, and now I could hear what was inside it, a soft, rhythmic sound, like breathing or laughing. I approached slowly, my footsteps echoing in the empty space. The bread box sat there innocently, but something about it was wrong. The metal seemed to shift and ripple, like a heat mirage on hot asphalt. I shouldn't have opened it. God help me, I shouldn't have opened it. Inside was a stack of photographs, dozens of them, all showing Monica. But she was different in each one, sometimes younger, sometimes older, sometimes wearing a blue uniform, sometimes gray. The dates stamped in the corners spanned decades, all the way back to 1947, when secure space storage first opened. And in every photo, her smile was a little wider, a little more wrong. The final photo made my blood run cold. It showed Sarah, standing in Unit 247, wearing a blue uniform. Her face was turned away from the camera, but I could see the edge of her smile. A smile that stretched far too wide for her face. Below the photos was a handwritten note in Sarah's handwriting. "Welcome to the circle. Your turn comes soon." I dropped the bread box and ran. I didn't even bother closing the unit door. I just ran until I reached my car, my lungs burning, my heart trying to pound its way out of my chest. That was 4 hours ago. I've been sitting here since then, watching unit number 247. The light is still on inside, spilling out into the corridor like an invitation. Twice now, I've seen shadows move across that strip of light. Not normal shadows. These move wrong, like they're being played in reverse. I tried calling Sarah, but her phone goes straight to voicemail. I called Jenny too, but she claims she's never heard of secure space storage. She says Sarah doesn't have a sister, has never had a sister. When I mentioned Monica, she hung up. The last text I received from Sarah was yesterday afternoon. Visiting storage unit before heading to work. Need to grab something from my bread box collection. But that's impossible. Her bread boxes are still arranged in a circle on our kitchen floor. I can picture them clearly, except I can't remember going home to check. I can't remember anything about the last 24 hours except sitting here, watching that light under the door. The sun will be up soon. I should drive home, pack a bag, and get as far away from here as possible. But I can't leave, not yet, because I just noticed something that makes my blood run cold. All the other unit numbers in this corridor have changed. Every single door now reads 247. My hands are trembling so badly I can barely type this on my phone. The battery is at 12% now. I don't know how much longer I can document what's happening. But someone needs to know. Someone needs to understand what this place really is. I just tried calling Sarah again. This time, someone answered, but it wasn't her. The voice on the other end was familiar, Monica's precise, measured tone, but it was wrong somehow, like multiple voices speaking in unison. "She's organizing her collection," the voice said. "Would you like to join her?" I hung up, but my phone immediately started ringing again. The caller ID showed Sarah's picture, but it wasn't her usual contact photo. In this one, she was wearing a blue uniform, her back to the camera, her head turned at an impossible angle. The shadows under the doors are getting darker, spreading across the floor like spilled ink. They seem to be reaching for my car, extending like fingers in the pre-dawn light. I swear I can hear whispers coming from them. Hundreds of voices, all talking about their collections, their precious memories, their circles that need to be completed. A memory surfaces, something Monica said that first day. I'm something of a collector myself. Memories, mostly. God, how could I have been so blind? I'm starting to remember things now, strange details that my mind must have blocked out. Like how the security cameras never blinked their red recording lights. How the other customers we occasionally passed in the hallways never seemed to cast shadows. How Sarah's eyes had started to change after we rented the unit, becoming deeper, darker, like wells that went down forever. The night guard just walked past my car. He was wearing a blue uniform that looked new, but his face was wrong. It was Monica's face, smiling that too wide smile, but the skin looked like it had been stretched over his features like a mask. He stopped at each unit, running his hand along the doors. Every time he touched one, the number changed to number 247. But that's impossible because they were already all 247, weren't they? Or were they? My memories feel fluid now, shifting like the reflections in the polished floor. My phone is ringing again. The caller ID shows my own face now, but it's wrong. I'm wearing a blue uniform and my smile. I need to get out of here. I need to drive away and never look back. But first, I have to check one more thing. In my wallet, there's a photo of Sarah and me on our wedding day. I need to see it, need to prove to myself that we had a life before unit number 247. My hands are shaking as I pull out the photo. It's still there, still shows our wedding day, but, oh God, we're both wearing blue uniforms in the picture. The date stamp in the corner reads 05/17/1998, and behind us, clearly visible, is a storage unit door with the number 247. I can see Monica now, walking down the corridor between the units. No, not walking. She's gliding, her feet hovering slightly above the ground. She's wearing that same faded uniform from the photograph, but her smile is different, wider, impossibly wide, splitting her face like a wound. She's carrying a bread box. My bread box. More figures are emerging from the other units. They're all wearing blue uniforms, all smiling those terrible smiles. I recognize some of them, the weekend staff, the security guard, the other customers we'd passed in the halls. They're all Monica. They've always been Monica. Sarah is among them now. She's holding her collection of bread boxes, arranging them in a circle around my car. Her head is turned at that impossible angle, and when she looks at me, her eyes are just empty sockets, dark and deep like the storage units that stretch behind her into infinity. I understand now. The storage units don't hold our possessions. They hold our memories, our identities, everything we once were. And Monica collects them all. My phone is almost dead, but I need to warn anyone who might read this. Stay away from secure space storage. Don't trust the smiling manager or the bright LED lights. Don't believe the security cameras or the climate control promises. And whatever you do, never, never rent Unit 247. But if you've already signed the lease, if you've already moved your belongings into that cursed space, then I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Because sooner or later, you'll see that light on under your door. You'll find your possessions arranged in that terrible circle. And then, like me, you'll discover what's been waiting in the back corner all along. They're opening my car door now. Their uniforms are all different shades of blue, fading to gray, some so old they look like they're made of shadow. Their smiles stretch wider and wider as they reach for me with hands that bend in impossible ways. Monica steps forward, holding out the bread box. "Welcome to the collection," she says, but her mouth doesn't move. The words seem to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "We've been waiting for you since 1947. I want to run, want to scream, want to fight, but my body isn't mine anymore. I'm standing up, straightening my uniform. When did I start wearing a uniform? And my face. My face is stretching into a smile. The sun is rising now, painting the sky in shades of blue and gray, the same colors as our uniforms, the same colors as the doors of unit number 247, the same colors as the endless corridor of memories that stretches out before me. My phone is dying, but it doesn't matter anymore. I'm home now. I'm part of the collection. And somewhere, in another town, another storage facility is opening its doors for the first time. Another Monica is smoothing her blue uniform, practicing her smile in the mirror. Another couple is about to sign a lease for unit number 247. The circle continues. Welcome to Secure Space Storage, where your memories are safe with us. Forever.